on the record once again, my good friends, and so forth. So I was saying earlier on, what we're gonna do, we're gonna nick it, cut it, make an incision like this on the dura mater, bing, bang, bing, bang, bing, making sure that all this stays correct. Because if you remove all this, it's gonna remove the cranial nerves, and we don't want that. That would really suck. Okay, so we do that, bing, bing, bang, bing, bang, bing, bang, bing, and we do that. And then here, we're gonna make this cut here on the tentorium cerebelli, which is the toughest of the cranial dural folds, okay, or cranial dural septa. So we make it's almost like very hard, okay, so you're gonna have to really go in there kind of sort of like this, and I'll show it to you, and then you nick this over here, and then you nick it over on this side. Otherwise you will not be able to pull it out because it will still remain attached to this. It's very hard here. And then here you just nick it in the middle here, okay, so that you could then pull it out like that. So I'm going to start right here where I have, this is not the best scissors in the world, but it's okay. I got a tiny one. Can I get Celeste? Yes, I gotcha. Oh my god. So, because this part here between the deer, I might use my sharp end sometimes. So, see what I'm doing? It's quiet, it's like, oh my god. Very good. Oh my god, I slipped out. Okay, so I do that. Now this is where the dance is. To cut this tentorium cerebelli, so you really need to kind of be careful. So I'm gonna sort of revert to my sharp end here. Do you see how hard it is, my good friends? Because there's no space, that's why I'm using my little sharp end. Oh my god, we're almost there. Do you see how hard it is? It's extremely hard. I'm cutting through the tentorium cerebelli, the toughest of the cranial dural folds. So you just have to I kind of nicked my side here, but it's okay. What can I do? What can I do? Do you see how when you cut that, it peels off nicely? Oh my god. See that? Okay, my good friends, the dura mater, now I'm going to show you those cranial dural folds I talked about. Bing, 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 bing. So this right here, the one that was saying is very tough. This will be the tentorium cerebelli. So it's cradling the cerebrum from the cerebellum over here. And then this is the falx cerebri, separating the cerebellar hemispheres. And then you'd have the falx cerebelli separating the cerebellar hemispheres, you know, from the vermis in the middle here, right? Okay, so those are the cranial dural folds, and it's one you see. Okay, now that we get the brain exposed, very good. it. So I'm hoping I'll be able to see. I got a few extras here. My structures nicely. Okay, so you could see this would be the vermis. All right. Okay, and this would be the longitudinal fissure or the cerebral fissure, right? Okay, my good friends, and and of course down here we're gonna go ahead and revise those cranial nerves. So this will be the olfactory number 1, optic number 2, oculomotor number 3. Then we jump here to the trigeminal, which is number 5, and then we jump here to the last cranial nerve that is just before it tapers into the spinal cord. And here we can only see the rootlets, but I told you that even though you cannot see the actual nerve, but if I say what's that cranial nerve and I'm in this area here, you see, you can see the rootlets, can't you? These are the rootlets. You see what I'm saying? So this will be hypoglossal number 12. Okay, so that's enough of the cranial nerves that we got. There will be other ones, and you should look at the book, you look at the lab manual, and you'll be able to see the position of the other ones, estimate position of the other ones. There you go, my good friends. This is going to be the deal right here. Put it right here. Okay, so what we're going to do now, so we're going to make that longitudinal incision. Make sure it's nice and vertical so that you're cutting right into the middle, and you don't want to really do this, so you want to make like one smooth movement like this from the front end going to the back, and the knife is very sharp. It will do the work, so you don't have to be like this, because if you do that, you're going to start to damage the nuclei. You won't be able to see them properly. Okay, my good friends? So we unsheath like a sword. Oh my god. I think of Game of Thrones already. Did you guys watch Game of Thrones? Oh man, I love that show too. I was like, oh my god. That's so good. Yeah, so there's the prequel to it. What's that one called? House of the Dragon. Oh, I love that too. I'm just can't wait for the next. Is it? Dracarys. Oh, Dracarys means it's, and it's gonna do that. It's easy how you remember all that stuff, but to remember the anatomy itself. You see, so that means it's when you like something, when you apply yourself, you do good at it. You don't have to be all that. You don't have to be a genius like Albert Einstein. So all those guys, they were persistent. They cared about what they're doing. Everybody's gifted with a brain that works properly. Okay, so it's about applying yourself. That's what it is. Seriously, I'm just letting you know. Something you can use for your life. If you care about something enough and you put in the work, it always works out. I promise you that. You can take that to the bank. You can't withdraw them. Okay, but your own bank of goodies that you give to yourself. You understand? Those banks are so greedy. Those banks, you give them money and they invest it, right? They make more money from it. But you just miss something, 35 buck charge. I'm like, guys, this is my money. Man, those guys are so greedy. It's unbelievable. They're making so much money already. Maybe I should be a bank. I went into the wrong profession. Okay, my good friends. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some lube here, put it along there. Yeah, you need as much lube as you can get on the better, so that it doesn't. Oh my God, it was work. Oh my God. So what you want to make sure. Oh my God, it's dripping. So you want to kind of sort of make sure it's vertical, and you kind of start from the front. Oh my God, I really zonked it with a bunch of glucose. Glycerin. Kind of went to the side, but it's not as bad as it could have been. I got lucky. Okay, my good friends, did you see Do you see the apovitae arrangement of the white matter in the cerebellum? Do you see it? Or is it just me? You see it? You do. So, my good friends, you can free to use the board. This one is kind of like dark, but the structures are there. I mean, if you get good eyesight. Okay? So what is this structure up here? This, you can use the board, please. That's why I drew it for you, so you can cheat on it. This one? This is just like looking. So this is be the superior colliculus. Superior colliculus, right? So what's underneath the superior? You see this white squiggle on the bottom? Remember I told you it's kind of pinkish in color? So this right here would be the inferior colliculus, which I said you could call corpora quadragemina, correct? And what did I say is below the smooth sort of groove, you see? Because it shows that fluid is really flowing through here. Doesn't it look like it? So what is this that joins this ventricle to that ventricle? I'm going to identify them for you, but we'll ask about that later. What is this structure here? Do you see how smooth it is? Look at here. That joins this ventricle to this ventricle. And you know what I forgot? Cerebral aqueduct, yes. You see what I'm saying? Isn't my drawing accurate? Look at it. I'm just saying, it looks just like this. Okay, what is this pine cone kind of sort of structure here that is above this circular structure here? What is this? It's written in red over there. Yeah, a pineal gland or pineal body, right? And what about this vertical kind of sort of squiggle here? What is that? That's the posterior commissure, right? Look here, look on the diagram. Just like that. Okay, the posterior commissure. You see this little round dot up here? What is that? This right here. This little round dot here, that joins the anterior commissure. Yes. We got lucky this time we saw the little dot. Sometimes you don't see it. Is it just me or what? It's like right there. Okay? And now, what is this circular structure here? The thalamus? What about below it? Hypothalamus. Yes, and there's the optic chiasm right there. Do you see it? Okay, my good friends. What about this white structure here that is joining the left and right cerebral hemisphere? What is that? Yeah, corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. And on the bottom, what is this? The phonics. The phonics. Thank you, thank you. What is this ventricle here? What is this fluid-filled chamber? Because I'm not going to say ventricle because that gives you half the answer. So I'm going to say, what's this fluid-filled chamber? Third ventricle. What is this fluid-filled chamber? Fourth ventricle. And the fourth ventricle is joined to the third ventricle by the cerebral aqueduct. My good friends, are you coming here? Come and pay attention, please. Okay. Or you can just be quiet and be in the back. Thank you so much, my good friends. So this is the third ventricle, and this is the fourth ventricle, and it's joined by the cerebral aqueduct. All right. And then you know what I forgot to put on the board? I forgot to put, and I'll go put it after this so that the video is not too long. Remember I said if within this area I could say what is that fluid-filled chamber? What would you call this? It's on the board there. The big ones in the cerebrum. So this will be the fluid-filled chamber. What do you call it? Starts with an L. So the fluid-filled chamber is the lateral ventricle. Okay. The tiny sort of cauliflower-like blood vessels that are lined with the ependymal cells. We didn't see any of them here. Oh my God, this is sort of So this would be the choroid plexus, and we got lucky it didn't get in the way, because sometimes if the choroid plexus gets in the cut, it's gonna start to graze the nuclei, and then that won't be good. Okay, so we got lucky a little bit. What I forgot to put on the board is that if I point to this area and I'm like, what is that fluid-filled chamber? You would say lateral ventricle. And then I point to the same area and I'm like, what's that structure that separates the chambers of the brain? That would be the septum pellucidum. It's the same area again. And the septum pellucidum is so thin that when you cut, even if you cut in the middle, it's always going to go to one side and the other side remains open. See, it's a very thin sort of wall that separates the two lateral ventricles. Okay, so when you cut in the middle, you're definitely going to cut in the middle of it. So you're going to have it on one side. Do you see how this side is closed and this side is open? You see what I'm saying? So this structure here, if I say what's the structure and I'm pointing to the area where the lateral ventricle is, you would say septum pellucidum. Do you understand? So I'm going to go right on the board over there. I forgot about that. Okay? But if I say, what is that fluid-filled chamber, and the arrow is in the same place, what would you say? Lateral ventricle. Do you see what I'm saying, my good friends? Yeah? So this is why I'm saying you have to be really wide awake when you're doing this exam, because the question will be describing what I'm looking for. So you have to pay attention to that. Don't just immediately see an arrow and say, oh, there's lateral ventricle. I was asking about the structure that separates the chambers of the brain. Okay, so that's that. So the thalamus right here, and then you can see the cerebral peduncle here, and then there's the pons, and there's the medulla oblongata, and then, like I was saying, the arbovitae arrangement of the white matter. Again, this is the superior colliculus. I need to blow my nose. And then inferior colliculus, and then the pineal gland or pineal body, and then the posterior commissure, and then the dot up here would be the anterior commissure, corpus callosum, fornix, right? Third ventricle, lateral ventricle, cerebral aqueduct, fourth ventricle, right? Inferior colliculus, or corpora quadragemina, and then superior colliculus, right? All right. So I'm going to